All right, it's finally time to learn subject pronouns so that we can say things like he, she, they, and I. I'm actually going to teach this lesson two different ways. First, I'll just tell you what the words are and then quiz you on them. And then I'll teach them again using a memory palace laid out in the same format that we've been using for the direct object pronouns and the articles. It's up to you to determine which one works better for you. Let's start by just naming all the subject pronouns. So the word for I is yo. The word for you, when it's a subject pronoun, is tú, spelled T-U with an accent mark. The word for she is ella, spelled E-L-L-A. And the word for he is él, which sounds the same as our word for the, but this one has an accent mark on it. Él. So for example, how would you say he and she? That's él y ella. How about you and I are from Colombia? That would be tú y yo somos de Colombia. The word for we is nosotros, and the word they can be translated either as ellos or ellas. You'll use ellas if it's a group of only feminine people. So for example, how would you say, they are my friends, if you're talking about a group of guys? That would be, ellos son mis amigos. How about, you and we are here? Tú y nosotros estamos aquí. So if you feel perfectly fine with él, ella, yo, tú, nosotros, ellos, and ellas, you can skip the next 9 minutes of this video and go straight to the mini quiz at the end of the video to start practicing this. Just scrub forward to minute mark 13:55. But we've found that most students benefit from using a memory palace specifically for pronouns, since pronouns are some of the easiest words to confuse with one another. So I'm going to present our pronoun memory palace right now. So the setting of this place is similar to the one for direct objects, but in this case you're walking through a peaceful countryside down a path that goes between two fenced pastures. And you can see sheep grazing in the pastures on either side. Today, you're joined by your motley crew of short and tall friends, but for today, your friends aren't going to talk because they're suffering from a breathing problem that I'll describe in a minute. Suddenly, the guy with a beard, the one who offered you tea on the hill, is confronting you on the path again and stopping you in your tracks. This time, he's holding two different cups of tea, and he says, "Here, this one's yours." But you're not sure which one he's referring to. It's not clear. So you're like, I don't know which one of the two is mine. It's time to give this weird guy a name. He's pretty important because he's actually the shepherd who owns and cares for all the sheep around you. And his name is tú. That's T-U with an accent mark over the U. In this universe, people call this funny shepherd tú because he has a habit of holding two things at once and referring to them as one thing, as he just now did to you. Now, in a different scene, the direct object scene, we called him te, because that's the direct object word for you. But the subject pronoun for you is tú, so that's what we call him in this scene. You'll use tú when the word you is interchangeable with I or he, but you'll use te when it's interchangeable with him. For example, to say you eat, you would say tú eat. And to say you see me, you would say tú me see. But to say I see you, you would say I te see. Now let's go ahead and learn the word for I. The shepherd, tú, has decided that it's time to make introductions. He says, I'm tú. I'll introduce you to my favorite sheep as well. But what's your name? You don't feel like giving your real name, so out of nervousness, the first thing that pops out of your mouth is yo. This word, yo, means I. So for example, you see me would be tú me sí. But I see you is yo te sí. The shepherd says, Hi, yo. Meet my favorite male sheep. His name is él. He points to a sheep that's in the pasture to the right, very close to the fence. In each of the sheep pastures, there are a lot of sheep, but there's clearly one favorite sheep in each pen. The male sheep on the right is reclining and chugging a glass of ale, and his name is él, with an accent mark. The main sheep on the left is a female, and she's dancing with a hula hoop. The shepherd says, Hey-ya, look at how she dances. He seems to like saying, hey-ya, when he looks at this dancing sheep. But he often says this without pronouncing the H, pronounced like ella. And then the shepherd, tú, lets you know that that's this sheep's name, ella. It's spelled like the name Ella with two L's, but in Spanish it's pronounced ella. This is common in Spanish. Two L's next to each other make a y sound. So what we've learned here is that the word for he is él, and she is ella. And you'll notice that these words are laid out exactly how the words were laid out in the direct object scene, with tú in front of you, ella on the left, and él on the right. All four of these words are pretty easy to use as the subject of a sentence. We'll practice it now, but to do this, we're going to use some sentences that have both subject and object pronouns. Make sure you can identify whether the pronoun he, him, she, her, you, me, or I is the subject, meaning it's interchangeable with he, or the object, meaning it's interchangeable with him. If it's the subject, use one of the names from this new scene with the sheep pastures. If it's an object interchangeable with him, use one of the words from the him scene. She is my friend.
Ella es mi amiga.
The dog sees you. The dog te sees. He sees me. Él me sees. You know her. Tú la know. I see you. Yo te sí. She knows him. Ella lo knows. There are a few more words to learn here. Saying they is pretty easy. The dancing sheep is called ella. And it turns out that all the sheep on the left side are able to dance. To say they about a group of feminine nouns, you say ellas, which is simply ella with a hard S at the end. Ellas. The word ellos applies to the group of sheep on the right. It's just like ellas, but with an O instead of an A, which is often the case when a pronoun is masculine instead of feminine. There's just one word left, the word for we. There's an awkward backstory to this word. As I mentioned, today your group of friends is letting you do all the talking, and that's because they're suffering from an unusual nasal condition. Just before you all went out for the day to walk through the countryside, They were all eating oatmeal. You told them a joke that was really funny, and they all started laughing while eating the oatmeal, and they laughed so hard that the oats went into their noses. So as uncomfortable as it is, the oats are blocking their nasal passages. All of this is to say that they're not speaking today because it's hard to talk with nose oats, as they call them. The word for we is nosotros. All right, quick quiz to make sure you can remember all of the words in this memory palace. Make sure it's laid out properly with one word right in front of you, 2 feminine words to the left, 2 masculine words to the right, and the words for I and we at the bottom of the image close to you. So now that you're visualizing this whole thing, what's the word for I? It's yo. What's the word for you as a subject pronoun? It's tú. What about he? It's él. How about she? Ella. Next, they for a masculine group. Ellos. And how about they for a feminine group? Ellas. And what's the word for we? Nosotros. All right, it's almost time for another quiz to practice all of these. First of all, note that the word nosotros can change to nosotras if you're a group of all feminine members. So we'll include 1 or 2 instances of nosotras on today's quiz. Second, if you've ever studied grammar before, you might be wondering why we've learned the subject pronouns for he and she and so on, but not the word for it. The fact is that in Spanish, when it would be a subject pronoun, it pretty much always disappears. There actually is no subject pronoun for it in Spanish. So to say he is a nice guy, you could either say él es un nice guy or simply es un nice guy. But to say it is a nice day, you simply leave off the it in every case. Es un nice day. All right, let's practice all of these words along with other things we've learned in this course. And remember that as we learned last week, you generally won't actually name the subject pronouns a lot of the time. Sometimes they disappear because the information is provided by the verb. You'll pretty much only use these subject pronouns for clarity, specificity, or emphasis. I'll try to make it clear whether or not you're expected to use a subject pronoun, but also remember that there's sometimes more than one right answer. All right, first example, and in this one, they are masculine. What are they? ¿Qué son ellos? In this one, the friends are feminine. That is because of the friends. Eso es por las amigas. In this one, they are masculine. They did it, but she didn't do it. Ellos lo did, pero ella no lo did. I'm not that, he is that. Yo no soy eso, él es eso. In this one, them is masculine. I think even she knows them. I think que even ella los knows. In this one, they are feminine. Why are they your friends? ¿Por qué son ellas tus amigas? In this one, they are feminine. They are here, but you aren't here. Ellas están aquí, pero tú no estás aquí. We aren't eating that. Nosotros no estamos comiendo eso. What are you for my friends? ¿Qué eres tú para mis amigos? In this one, we are feminine. He is much taller than we. Él es much taller que nosotras. In this one, they are masculine. No, they aren't the friends. No, ellos no son los amigos. She is around here, or I am. Ella está por aquí, o yo lo estoy.